TradingNut, episode 23.
A trend will keep on going further than you can possibly imagine.
The market's going to do something. Your job is not to fight it.
The market never, ever runs away. It's always there.
That personal diary of trading will make you a much better trader than...
I could be right about the direction, but wrong about the trade.
Don't focus on the monetary side.
Trying to make too much money on a trade is what I have seen killed every trader.
Your losses offer you some of the greatest insight you can find into your mistakes.
Relax, learn the process.
Candlestick pattern trading is a freaking trap.
Don't be in a rush to become a millionaire.
Let the market tell you what the market wants to tell you.
This podcast is not financial, trading, or investing advice of any kind. What's up, traders? Welcome to another installment of the TradingNut podcast. I'm your host, Cam Hawkins, and today we've got a trader by the name of Louise Bedford on the show. Now, Louise is from Australia. It's the first Australian trader we've had on the show in ages. I cannot even remember the last time we had an Australian trader on here. So, guys, if you know some good Aussie traders out there, send them my way and we'll get them on the show. And in fact, we actually talk about my very first trading mentor, who she actually knew when I first started learning to trade. This was the guy that I was following. So we talk about that in the show as well. So that's coming up in just a second. Now, I also wanted to just say thanks to a future guest who actually gave me some advice. So I'm on this, I've mentioned it a couple of times, I'm on this fasting thing where I don't eat breakfast or lunch, and then I just have some dinner, and then you don't eat again, and you sort of get yourself into the state where after a certain number of hours, your body starts essentially sort of healing itself. Now, I've got to the point where it's fairly easy to do. I did it on Monday, didn't do it Tuesday because I had football, and then did it again on Wednesday. Now, one of the pain in the butts is the fact that, and especially with like all this audio stuff that I'm doing, is that I get this really croaky voice because I've got no food going in my mouth, down my throat. So I want to say thanks to my guest who's coming up on the show, and I won't spoil it for you, who gave me 2 bits of advice. And if you guys are doing this, here's some advice for you as well. Don't drink hot drinks, drink cold drinks, and the colder the better. And then last but not least, and I think this is the key one. I haven't tried that one, but I am trying the cold water at the moment, and it seems to be working. Use aloe vera juice, and don't use the dark juice. Use the lighter juice, whatever that is. I'd have to go and have a look in the shops, mix it with some water, and drink that as well. So this seems to be working because I haven't had any food. Yesterday, the day before that, my voice was as croaky as can be. And the reason it was really annoying me was because I'm recording my new course on building trading robots, okay? And I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely loving this course. I've basically spent the last probably 3 to 4 weeks putting it together. I've spent the last 2 years thinking about how to actually construct this. And I think that the way that I've constructed it is really nice for people who've just got completely no idea about, how they would even start building a trading robot. I share all my secrets on how I do it, and at the end of it, basically give you a template that you can walk away with, which gives you 90% of what you need in any robotic strategy. So anyway, guys, if you do want to actually jump on board this, because I will be launching it soon, flick me an email, and if you do it before the launch, I'll give you some special discount to get on board. There is actually an existing course there already that you can take, so you're going to get the existing course, and that's a full and complete course. But then you're going to get the new course, which is like head and shoulders above the old course. So if you're keen, flick us an email, and I'll get you in there. Or you can just wait till I launch it, which will be in a few weeks' time. And look, one of the things I'm sort of thinking about is maybe doing a webinar on robots and sharing a lot of stuff. So I went and did some football training this week, which I haven't done in ages. I actually trained with the first and second team for my club, which, I'm nowhere near that level at the moment. I'm like, I'm too old for that. It was all these sort of 20-year-old guys, and I'm 43. So I went along anyway. And these guys that were on this trip that I went away with a couple of weeks ago, which I mentioned, they were there, and the guy who was into trading was there. And so he started asking me about these robots again. And it just got me thinking that, like, listening to him and where he was and his level of knowledge, there needs to be some solid education out there around just giving people the grassroots thing. Like, here is everything you need to know just to get started in trading with robots at a 101 level. So I'm thinking about doing some webinars which share the knowledge and insights that I know, and it can help you just, I suppose, either weed out a lot of rubbish that's on the internet, or at least give you guys a footstep into sort of into like thinking about, you know, using robots or joining the Robot Traders Club that I run, or anything like that. So guys, thinking about doing that, so keep an eye out for that as well. Without further ado, I think we're going to get on with the show. I just want to let you know first that we've got some fantastic guests coming up. I've managed to book them. If you guys have got ideas for guests, then let me know. I'd love to have them on the show. Okay, all right, let's go. Let's hear from Louise. All right, guys, I've got Louise Bedford on the show here today from the Trading Game, and Louise is a best-selling author. Trading Secrets, Charting Secrets, Let the Trade Winds Flow, a whole bunch of candlestick stuff here as well, Louise, and the list goes on. So you're from Melbourne, Australia. You've been around a while. Do you want to give us the guys a bit of an introduction as to who you are and your background and how you got into this gig?
Yeah, sure can. I've been trading since 1990, so it's quite a while now. And when I first started trading, I just looked at it as being a potential extra income. You know, the idea where my husband-to-be at that stage, he was working a job, I was working a job, and I just wanted trading to be like a third person in our family. So there'd be three of us working for two people. I thought it was a great idea. So I tried to make this work. I had so much trouble in the beginning. It actually took me 3 years to break even. So I definitely wasn't one of those people that was like a duck to water type of person with trading. But after 5 years, unfortunately, I had to leave my job. I was retrenched. But the good news is I've never had to go back to work again. So I've been trading full time ever since, which has been lovely, Cam.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, it's funny. So you was that all on the Australian stock market, or was it other instruments?
Yeah, to begin with it was. So I traded Australian shares just because I was familiar with the names, and, you know, I made some ridiculous decisions. Like I bought Sausage Software because what a cute name, you know. So we all have to start somewhere. But when I got retrenched from my job, it was actually because I had a health situation. I'd lost the use of my arms. So it started out just as a little twinge in one finger, and within a couple of weeks it had travelled all up one arm and down the other. So I couldn't move my hands and my arms at all. And because of that, I was very restricted. I just thought my future has totally been eradicated with this just one puff of smoke, and it was really upsetting. You know, I was only in my 20s at the time, and I said to my broker, because I did have a human broker back then, I said to my broker, that's it, I'll never be able to work again. I have to make this work. My back's to the wall. I can do this, but I can't talk at the same time, so you're going to have to do the maths, because I used to punch the computer keyboard with a pen in my mouth because my hands wouldn't work. So he was very kind, and he got really quite well versed in the mumbling speech that I used to say, okay, add this up type of conversation. So he was very kind with that. And so he did all of my position sizing for me after I yelled numbers in his ear. And then we'd buy the number that came up on his calculator or sell the one that I told him to sell. And then he said, look, I don't know that much about options, but let's learn together and let's learn with your money. And I went, heck, let's do it. So he was very kind, because we did learn together. I mean, clearly it's not a good offer. That is not a good offer. You want somebody experienced to teach you, but I didn't know that. gosh, I had no idea. So I learned to write options, and that was like a surrogate income for me. And it was fantastic. So I was writing options on the Australian share market, and then eventually I incorporated some other markets as well. And it worked really well. It was such a relief, I didn't have to go to the office every day. I didn't have to combat my disability. I can move now. It took a few years, and occasionally the situation that I was facing then rears its ugly head and it comes back and I'm stricken again. So to me, with trading, I could not suggest any better future for myself and for the people listening to this podcast. You don't know when things are going to go to the crapper. Or are we allowed to say that on your podcast?
Yeah, I've had worse, don't worry.
Good, because honestly, you can be traveling along perfectly. You can be climbing the corporate ladder. Everything can be going in your favor. And then out of nowhere, you can have a situation that can strike you down. And this trading is absolutely the plan B that everybody should have in their back pocket, every single person, because without that comfort, without knowing that you can earn an income separately from your career position, I think you always have to say yes to the unreasonable demands of a boss. You can't say, no, I don't want to do that overtime because you're worried about your job. It's amazing what money will do to give you those choices, Cam.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think I've sort of... I haven't stumbled on that recently, but it's been more... It's come to the forefront more recently that, like, it's the one thing... Ironically, it's the one thing that you can actually sort of guarantee to a certain degree your, money coming towards you, as opposed to anything else which other people have got control over. So, for example, so if you run a business, it could be the economy, it could be it could be anything that affects it. If you're working a job, then obviously there's like almost zero security these days. So this is like trading is one of the only things where you actually don't need to rely on anyone else other than your broker to actually generate finances for you, your family, whatever. So
You're
yeah,
so right.
Yeah.
There's so much freedom in that. And even when I look back to the way that I felt when I had that job, I don't know why they did it in December, but every Christmas they'd come through with a bucket load of retrenchments, and they'd be you don't have a job. And because you can't start looking for a job until February in Australia. Same in New Zealand, isn't it? We just shut down over Christmas. I used to think it was so cruel. And every year I used to live in fear that would happen to me. And by the time that it finally did, because I had to leave, you can't be a national sales manager if you can't move your arms. It's awful how much we rely on our bodies in usual career positions. By the time it happened to me, I took that package, a mini tiny package, and I went, that's my trading capital. Thank you. I'm adding it to the pool I've already developed, and goodbye. And I literally clicked my heels on the way out. I was so excited to leave that job. And I really hope that when people can trade effectively, that they will have that same experience, because that freedom, that knowledge that your security is actually between your ears. It has nothing to do with something that is an external constraint. You carry that security with you, Cam.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that your story sounds similar to mine at the beginning. I did actually start trading I was trading the Australian stock market, and it was options that I'd learnt to trade from a guy. I think his name was Kim Riley.
Oh, Kim Riley. Oh, yes, I've met Kim.
Oh, have you? Oh, right.
Yeah.
I remember this guy that got me into it, who I sort of chased up, said, he had a massive success. This guy I used to work with, but he worked at a vendor that I used, and he said, oh, look, I did all these courses, and Kim Riley was one of them. And so I ended up buying his course, and then spending about 3 months, I remember watching it on my Apple iPod. It had a little screen, and it was all sort of blurry and stuff. Anyway, studied all the material and that, and then finally got around to placing my first trade after opening a brokerage account, which was just a nightmare. It took me 3 months to open the account, and then placed the first trade, lost it after freaking out, and that was it. I was like, I'm going to take a break now. And I ended up heading into the Forex market because I didn't have to risk so much capital with when it was options. Also, you've met Kim. Unbelievable.
Because I've been around in the environment for so long now, people keep reminding me of how long I have been around. It's so funny. I've got some of the people that I've trained, their children, and in one case, their grandchild is now training with me. So, yes, but still, we just go on the fact that we never age, just the people around us do.
All right, let's dive into your trading these days. I mean, what exactly does it look like? Can you give us some ideas around maybe your strategy that you're using? Are you day trading? Are you swing trading?
Sure, I'll give you the overview. So the results that I've been able to achieve, the majority of them have come through trading a medium to long-term system. So unfortunately with trading, it's not one of those things where you can say, hey, 70% of the trades that I put on are winners. And if you hear somebody saying, oh, I've got a 99% hit rate, you just know that that's actually not strictly accurate. That might be the case with backtesting, but it is certainly not the case with real life trading. So what we do as traders is we just hang on in there. We follow our system to the letter. We keep on using our trading system, which is our entry, our exit, and our position sizing. And we do it again and again and again and again. We limit our losses and we hang on in there for that big outlier. And that outlier, oh my gosh, that is payday more than you could ever possibly expect. And that makes up for all of the little microaggressions on your account. Those little losses when you get out at initial stop and then initial stop and it's like loss, 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 loss. There's a little win. Oh, there's a bigger win. Loss, loss, loss. Oh, there's a big win. Oh my goodness, that is a huge win. And you go, wow, look at that. And that is how trading works. And it is such a shame that you don't get, you're such a good girl for being involved in the markets. I'm going to give you a gold medal. It doesn't work that way. It's not primary school. We have to really shoulder the burden of so many little microaggressions to be able to hang on in there for the big payday. So that's what my trading looks like. So by trading a combination of Australian markets, US markets and options, sometimes ETFs, definitely CFDs as well, that combination, chasing where the money is around the world, making sure that my money competes for itself. So I want to get into the highest probability trades every time based on my archetypal trade. So by an archetype, what I'm saying is a chart that is perfection, absolute perfection. I want to match what I have as an archetype. Like if you want some specifics, if you look at A2M, like the A2 Milk Company, for example, you look at Caltex, maybe Domino's Pizza, these are ones that have that beautiful archetypal look. I'm trying to find new trades that have that same look in the early days before they've run all the way, So that to me is the key. I'm in the hunt with you, with your traders as well, Cam. And it's great, hunting as a pack, looking for the trend, making sure that we manage our positions with precision and just being able to be resilient to resolve all of those little knocks that we get in the market. Part of this is, a large part of it is mindset for sure.
It's interesting when you say, waiting for that big win. I listened to something or watched something just in the last week, and it was from a guy who knows his stuff, and he was saying, look, we don't care about the small losses. They're going to happen. We're waiting for that big giant trade, and that's why we don't jump out of them when they happen because that's payday, which is exactly what you've said. So it's good to hear that there's there's a lot of correlation between other traders out there that are doing completely different things, completely different markets, but are telling the same story. So that's interesting. Now, with regard to the sort of some of the stats, I suppose, around what you do. I mean, how many trades are you placing in a week, or your students, etc.?
It's quite variable. Certainly, I don't trade such a short-term system. Like I'm not in and out in the same day, so I'm not a day trader. A lot of our traders do have a 4-hourly system, so they're placing around about 40 trades, 60 trades maximum, I would say, per year, because we see their results as well. And then the medium-term trades, they are an average hold time of, say, well, currently for me 22 weeks, so around about that. Of course, there are so many that you get out of early, but there are some that range for a very long time and you just hang on in there. So you'd probably be looking at maybe 30 trades over a 12-month period. So we're not talking massive activity, because I think people confuse activity with profitability. They think they have to keep on trading, be in the market all the time. And that to me does not work. There are 3 market cycles. It's going up, it's going sideways, or it's going down. So to work out how to make money in those 3 cycles is freedom. Because if you can trade no matter what the market is doing, no matter what conditions you are facing, you have got a blank check. You just fill it out for the amount you want. And it's long term. In terms of longevity, it is just second to none, because you can keep on trading any market around the world as long as you've got those core concepts of entry, exit, and position sizing.
And are you guys shorting and going long, or is it bullish strategy that you use? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So that's the whole thing with the 3 type of cycles. So let's just talk like market going up. What can you do? So you can buy shares, you can buy a CFD, you can buy a call option, you can write a put option, you can buy the appropriate bullish ETF, you can use CFDs, you can use FX. It depends on which instrument you're going to actually use to capitalize on what your view is. When things are going sideways, it sucks. So this is not our favorite type of trading, but if you are in a range trading market, you can write calls, you can write puts around that range, so that you've got calls above and puts below. And then when it's going down, you can short it, and a lot of our traders short using CFDs. So they're a beautiful instrument. I'll tell you what though, and this is perhaps a little counterintuitive, shorting tends to make money if you don't use equities. The trading systems, and we've seen so many, and the results, the trading systems that we look at that short equities, that always seems to erode the overall profitability. We've found that the people who go for shorting equities tend to like to be in it for the entertainment, and that is death to a trader. We should be in there for the money, not for the entertainment.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's why I asked the question, because it's sort of like one that with equities, such an equities focus, whether or not that was detrimental. Thanks for answering that. So risk to reward ratio, what does that typically look like with this, what you described before?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. It would have been quite difficult to work out. I mean, what about let's just focus on the massive like trades that you have. I mean, what does that look like from a risk to reward when you finally get a big one?
I don't do that calculation in advance. I don't think we can know where the markets are going to and how much reward could potentially be there. Traders, we often talk in R. So R is like if you've got $100,000 and your position sizing based on 1%, so you're prepared to lose $1,000 in that particular trade. For you, 1R would be $1,000. So for you, with a 1R trade, you would probably want something like 10R or more out of it for you to consider, hey, that's a really nice looking trade. I did well. I put in $1,000. I got $10,000 out of it, for example. So that R consideration, that allows you to escape that risk-reward ratio. It's something that I don't think people should emphasize, and it's certainly something that I suggest my traders just forget. A trend will keep on going further than you can possibly imagine, and that's a quote from Jesse Livermore. Now, I think a lot of people get hooked to say, well, I think with my knowledge, I know it can't go any further. And to me, that smacks of ego. you have to be really careful that you're not putting your views on top of that chart, because the market's going to do whatever the hell it wants.
Yep, exactly. I think that quote is at the start of my show.
Is it? There you go.
The market's going to do whatever it wants. It's your job to find out. I can't remember what it is actually. Anyway, next question is, what does your typical trading day look like then?
Look, with this, and it certainly is based on the fact that I've got a husband and 2 kids, and I like to do some things for my neighbours, and I fit in trading around my life, so not the other way around. I've just find that because I'm running a medium-term system and occasionally run short-term systems, I actually don't find the more time I put in, the more money I get out. I'm very disciplined. On the weekend, I'll look through for my positions to see, do I have space for a new position, and are there appropriate new positions that match my archetype. So on Monday, I'll pop in those trades, or I might use, if I'm going to be busy in the morning, for example, I'll use a contingent order so that it purchases that position without my active intervention. I enter it into my trading system, and they're really freedom tools, those contingent orders. They're amazing, and you can use them for automatic stops as well. So I probably do look at the trades as they're going through, maybe once or twice a week. I just get curious and see what my little babies are doing. Are they all playing nicely together? But other than that, my systems get taken out for me if there's a trade that's hit its stop. My auto stop, or a GSLO, a guaranteed stop loss order for a CFD position, that will automatically take me out of the market. So I don't have to try and breathe life into these little darlings. I can just say, oh, off you go, off to daycare. I hope you all play happily in the playpen, and I'll come and look at you at the end of the week. So I find for me, it's something that fits in around my life, that removes stress from my life, and that I can set up a lot of automatic facilities in order to take that pressure away and take out that human component. I think sometimes we could have a good system, but the human who runs that system can totally foul it up.
And so going in once a week to look to place your orders or trades, I mean, what's the lowest time frame you'll go down to?
Oh, look, Cam, if you're talking historically, I did this little competition with this fellow candlesticks friend of mine. We traded 2-minute charts right beside each other just for the sake of competition, which isn't healthy. No, because if you think of what we're doing here, the trends that occur on a 2-minute chart, they're very limited. So in terms of ego, sure, that was fun. And gosh, it was great to trade against somebody who had that level of recognition in the markets as a fellow candlesticks enthusiast. But in actual fact, did that make me the money that I was looking for? No. So I'm looking to trade that medium-term trend, take that middle chunk out of that medium-term trend. You'll never get in at the bottom. You'll never get out at the top. But that middle chunk, baby, that is where the action is at. So that is mine, and I claim it. Yes.
And what about correlation? I mean, do you sort of look at different kinds of instruments? And so for example, sectors, like would you say, well, if I'm going long in some tech stocks, I might only limit that to maybe 1 or 2, and then I want to have some banks and some XYZs, etc. Or does that not really take a sort of play?
Yeah, look, Cam, I love the theory behind it. I like the theory of diversification, because doesn't that sound sexy? Oh yes, I've got a little bit here, a little bit there. It does sound great. But what I've found is that if energy is running, heck, I am damn well in there. Energy. Look, if banks are going, then, hey, they're my darlings, and I'll roll with those. And you know what I've found is that there are some macro aspects that can actually determine whether you are conservative. It's not the sector. So we can use RSC, like that's relative strength comparison, and we can compare sectors, but I'd only ever do that if I've got two equal opportunities that have come up on my scan. Let's just say we've got ABC and XYZ, and they look exactly the same. They fulfill my archetype. They're both the same sort of amount of money per unit to be able to put into that trade. And I'm going, oh gosh, they're so equal. What will I do? What I'll do is I'll see which is outperforming its own sector and which sector is a hot sector. So which sector is outperforming its primary index. So ASX 200, for example, or XAO, the All Ords, that type of analysis at that very tail end, after everything else is in place, that works. But that early top-down analysis where you're trying to find the hot share in the hot sector, look, it's just so much more work. I find it's easier just to find those ones that are moving, then look at the sector after that.
Okay, cool. And what about just, I suppose, changing sectors completely, cryptocurrencies? I mean, have you ever considered trading them? Have you ever looked at them? Have you invested in Bitcoin, that sort of thing?
Oh, this is such a loaded question, isn't it? Look, I know people have got a definite soft spot for cryptocurrencies, and don't let me steal your dream, because if that's the case, then you go for it. But these are unregulated markets. There are cowboys there. There is so much hype around it where people are not looking at the chart as the pure source of information. And all of this, I think, is damaging. I believe that our job is to stay in it for the very long term as traders, not for that trend, but as traders. I want to be doing this when I'm 98, like one of the guys that I trained, beautiful Ted. He was 98 by the time he finally passed away. He had been a full-time trader for the past 12 years of his life, the very final years, and he was a superstar. And I can tell you why he was. That life experience that has taught him so much. You look at the tulip crisis, you look at Poseidon, you look at the NASDAQ, all of these big booms, they do end in a bust. Roughly, the angle of the incline will match the angle of the decline. So those very pointy type of positions, they're the ones where they can totally skip over your stop if you don't have a GSLO. And with crypto, we're finding that now. This is not something where I'm condoning any actions where people have left their job to start a cryptocurrency firm and they've got half an hour knowledge about the markets. This is something that is a very unregulated market. So if you're looking for a strategy around crypto, definitely apply those same technical analysis concepts to that market. But remember, risk management is going to be the key here. So when we're looking at somebody's amount of money that they've got to trade, you can have, say, 10% set aside for high risk trading. So that's $10,000 out of $100,000. Now, out of that $10,000 for high risk trading, that would cover things like bought options, because your percentage chances are very low of getting it right. It could cover crypto if you really, really insist. It could cover things that are underneath the top 300, so 301 onwards in terms of market capitalisation in the Australian market. Things that have low liquidity, things that perhaps you are kind of having a bit of a swing on, you know, let's swing for that, hey, it may not come out the way you were hoping. Crypto is in that category for me. So no, I'm not a big fan.
And I know you haven't prepped for this question because I didn't give it to you beforehand, but Bitcoin's currently at 3,500. It was at 20K just over a year ago. Was it just over a year ago? Yeah. Have you got any predictions on where you think is it going to go down further, do you think, or is it going to go up?
You know, it's interesting that you use that word prediction. I do feel that this is an overused word in the markets. We can't predict where a situation is going. We really can't. All that we can do is back, based on the evidence that we have gathered, a high probability position. So if your trading system says that, hey, in general terms, this is how I define an uptrend, and that constitutes an uptrend, go for it. Back your view. If you think it's going up, then you buy it. If you think it's going down, then you sell it, and you keep your position sizes small. And they are the 3 huge tenets of trading effectively. So, no, I can't say that I'm ever going to predict on anything, Cam.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. There's a lot of guys out there that just, because I did predictions before on the show, and a lot of the traders are actually like, oh, I can't predict anything. I literally can't, so I can't give you anything. So anyway, next question is really more about how you're different from everyone else out there who's struggling to make it in this industry as a trader. I mean, what traits do you think you had that made you different, and what action/education did you take to get you to the point where you are now?
Isn't that interesting? Because I think if we can define that perfect trader, hopefully we can use that as a model and move towards that type of set of characteristics. I do agree with that in principle, but I can tell you one of the things that I hope your listeners can't replicate is I was terrified, Cam. I was so scared. I was in my 20s. I never thought I'd be able to work again. My back was to the wall, and honestly, I was having that kind of raised heart rate, sweaty feel that you get when you're under physical pressure on a day-to-day basis. It was like I was living with my own axe murderer in the corner. You know, occasionally I'd notice that axe murderer and go, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to afford a good life. I probably won't be able to have children. I'm going to be living under a bridge in Richmond in a cardboard box. You know, that's really not a sound place to continue your trading career from. But I can tell you what it did is it made me learn my rules with astounding clarity. It gave me that idea that I need to look at my results and modify my behavior. It made me very introspective and, in a way, a little bit of a recluse in order to say, okay, what's good for me? What's going to suit me? What can I learn from what I have done? So I always like traders who can look back and say, this is what worked and this is what didn't, and I'm going to chase that money. So that level of introspection, that's not natural. That's not a natural trait for me, for goodness sake. That's just so against who I actually am. But I think because of my health situation, that actually brought that out. I had so much time on my hands between physiotherapy visits and between going to the hydrotherapy pool that really I had to look inside. So I would urge everybody to look at their own trading results. Look at what they've done well. Look at what they would do differently in the future, and to have a very frank discussion with themselves. So one of the things that should revolve around is, do you have that perfect trade? What does that perfect trade look like, that archetype? And when you look at your results, how many are actually that perfect trade lookalike? What's an identical twin of that perfect trade in your current portfolio? Because I find that people don't trade their system. I don't know what the hell happens, but they don't look for that perfect trade. Or if they're entering positions, it's on a whim, and that's no good. So develop introspection, look at your results, look at your perfect trade, and compare the ones that you've already taken to that perfect trade. Listen to the lessons.
And so when you were going through, is that the process you took when you were trying to learn how you're going to construct your strategy?
Definitely, and that's what my book Trading Secrets is based on. It's based on the things that I did wrong so that hopefully others don't have to continue to duplicate my errors.
Okay, so if the listeners out there, they're working a day job, what steps would you recommend they start to take to become profitable in this industry, either as a stock trader or any other instrument?
The first step has to be education. You need to educate yourself, because if you're trying to learn from scratch, you are going to run out of money before you've conquered this thing. And that's the harsh truth. This is a 3 to 5 year plan. This is not a get-rich-quick program. You need to read good books like Trading Secrets, Charting Secrets, The Art of Trading. You need to educate yourself so that you're getting input through podcasts like this podcast. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for people to learn from, Cam. And it's free. Some of these things, especially when you're starting, they don't have to be expensive. Listen to my podcast, talkingtrading.com.au. On Talking Trading, we have a very similar idea to you, Cam, where we want to give from our hearts to help people achieve. So listen, read and internalize, then practice. Practice on those charts. Identify where you would enter, where you would exit, how you would position size. Get that core trading plan together. And by registering actually on my website, tradinggame.com.au, I will give you a free trading plan template. I designed it to help people write their trading plan. And that is where you should start.
Cool. Nice. Now, if you had to split your trading up into technical versus fundamental, I mean, what does that split look like?
100% technical.
Right. And so if you had to, so these guys are going off, they're getting their education, they're like, listening to podcasts and they're getting some free advice and information, and they're now to the point where they're going, right, okay, I'm looking at the price chart. What 3 things would you recommend they start educating themselves on?
So if you've got a price chart in front of you, first of all, put it onto candlestick charts. All right. You want to see green, which means it's going up, and red, which means it's going down. So if I'm teaching somebody to look at a chart first, don't look at the name. That can be very distracting. Look at the color first. Are there more red than green? Because if there are more red than green, it means money's bleeding out of that particular position. People are hating that position. If you could actually convert that chart to a sound file and more candles are red than green, it would be like, oh my God, I hate this. I've got to dump it now. I'm terrified it's going to go down so low. I have just lost our entire holiday on this particular share. That's what that chart is saying. And the green, if there are longer green than red and there are more green than red, you're hearing, woohoo, I'm doing so well. I'm so clever. I can do this. I have got this nailed. I'm going to be able to buy so much of this. I can do whatever I want. I can quit my job in just a couple of years. I am so excited about life. Okay, so listen to the chart. Look at the color of the chart and get your head around some basic indicators. Things like a moving average, looking at the volume, and even put a moving average over the volume. Try and listen to what that chart is telling you in terms of greed and in terms of fear, and that will take you a very long way.
I've got to say, out of all the interviews I've done, which is well over 150, I've never had that description of reading a price chart, which I think is fantastic. I think it's brilliant, guys. It actually, and I know exactly what you're trying to say in terms of that is how people need to see price movement. It's the people behind the price, not the actual mechanical candlesticks that sit there in front of you. So we're going to dive into the quickfire round. There's about 12 questions here, maybe less, to summarize everything and find out a few other little tips that might help these guys out there find success in the markets. So first question is, how long did it take you to go from trading newbie to consistently profitable?
5 years. Oh, am I discouraging everybody?
No, that's 2 years less than I think the average for the show. So you're on the winning side. What's your mental approach to trading, and do you have any special techniques you can share with us?
Be mentally strong and keep reading, even books that are not related to the market. Like I've just read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Fantastic. Basically talking about the importance of compounding your habits, compounding your money. I love it.
What's your favorite entry setup?
A sideways progression with a clear green candle on heavy relative volume, breaking past a line of resistance.
What strategies do you use to exit or manage active trades?
I look at average true range and I use a multiple of average true range to get me out of that position. But then also, if I'm not well, I also have a panic stop. So during times where I need to focus on my own body because I still have some issues going on there, I do exit from the markets because I find I can't think clearly.
What's your recommended trading book or books?
Do you know, my immediate thought was Trading Secrets, which is my book, but let's not go there. Let's go to The Art of Trading by Chris Tate.
If there was one thing he would recommend any retail trader spend the next month mastering, what would it be, why, and how could they go about mastering it?
Discipline. Get up an hour earlier.
Wow, that's a good one. That is good. That is very good. I like that. What's your preferred broker and trading platform?
I like CMC, and I've got a link on my website where you can download a demo. There are some other really great trading platforms as well. E-Trade's changed its name to ANZ Share Trading, and look, it's growing on me. I don't adapt to changes in technology well, but I still love that platform. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
What's the worst trade you ever had?
My biggest profit, it went right to my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it sucked.
If you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Keep listening to this podcast. There's gold. Absolute gold here.
That's really good advice. Take that on board, guys. Subscribe to it as well if you haven't already. You're just listening for the first time. Right, so we'd like you to give us the bones of a full trading strategy, the entry setup, stop loss, take profit targets, market time frame, basically something that our listeners can have a bit of a play with at home this week.
Look, I know that's your question, but I'm going to deviate from it because that's too big a question. So I'm going to give you one thing that I'll bet your listeners have not considered. So I'm hijacking you here, Cam.
That's all right. That's all right. I asked the question in the hope that we can get something special, but look, we'll take what we can.
That's it. So here is something very, very special. For those of you that love candlestick charting, those little red and green darlings on the chart, you really need to look at the overall trend first. Now, here's my little secret, and this is a winner, and it's something that isn't usually discussed. During an existing overall uptrend, bottom candlesticks will be massively strong. They are in line with the trend, so they are much stronger than top reversal candlesticks. So look out for that. They can fine-tune your entry into an existing uptrend. And in an existing downtrend, so let's say on a weekly chart, you've got share prices below the 30-week moving average. Let's use that as a definition for a downtrend. What you'll find is top reversal candlesticks are very, very strong. And bottom reversal candlesticks, they often fail. They're quite weak. So if you're going to trade into an existing downtrend, you can use a top reversal candle to guide your entry into a short position or a written call. And that is such a winning strategy. Can't tell you how much money I've made out of that. It has been absolutely exceptional. So in terms of one of the secrets that I don't believe I've ever mentioned before on a podcast, and I certainly find that I hoard that one, I have opened the vault for you there, Cam.
Nice. I can picture it in my head. Guys, you're probably going to need to do a little bit of chart time to piece it all together, but I'm sure that it'll be worthwhile looking at. Now, Louise, before we wrap up, what's the best way for the guys to get hold of you?
Definitely go to my website, tradinggame.com.au. You can register there. I'll give you a free 5-part e-course, and it's called Trading Made Simple. But you'll also get my trading plan template. Now, that trading plan template is fantastic because it gives you exactly what you need to put into your trading plan. I think there's a lot of confusion about trading plans. People feel very wary, and because of that concern, they don't write down their trading plan, and that is a huge mistake. So I'm giving you that resource for free because I feel so strongly about it. And in fact, checklists are so important. That is a checklist to help get the most out of your head and onto paper. One of the pieces of research that I think is fascinating is that they looked at surgeons and they looked to see which ones followed a checklist and which ones didn't, and they tracked their patient recovery. The ones that followed a checklist compared to the ones that didn't had an 8% less mortality rate. Now, that's life and death. That is huge. And because trading, it's not life and death. Hey, a lot of us do it with our pocket money. We don't think it's as important to write down our information about our trading plan. And that's where the rot sets in. We don't give it the priority it deserves. We don't give it the emphasis that it deserves, and we take those shortcuts. So I would really encourage everybody listening to get that trading plan template from tradinggame.com.au. And also, if you like podcasts, come onto my podcast. Subscribe to talkingtrading.com.au.
Yeah, guys, look, I checked it out before the show, and there's over 200 episodes there. So if you want to dive in and learn more from Louise and the guys over there, then by all means check it out, and we'll put a link up in the show notes. So a big thanks, Louise, for coming on the show and sharing with us today.
Thanks, Cam. Actually, I've just got one thing to mention also. I adore what you're doing here. Our values are aligned, and the reason why I got in touch with you is members of my graduate program, from the mentor program that I've been running for the last 19 years, actually, repeat for free course, so we've got a beautiful community. They were so excited about your podcast. As soon as one of our beautiful mentorees wrote a message to say everybody needs to be on this podcast, you should have seen the groundswell of support that you've got. So you're here, you're talking into your microphone, you're pouring out your heart, you're making networking connections. You may never know the magic that you are spreading into the trading community, Cam. I can tell you, you've got a bucket load of people here hanging off your every word, and I'm so excited for you. I'm very humbled to be on your show.
Well, look, thanks for letting me know, because, I mean, I don't see any of that here. It's all virtual. It's all, like, I don't get to hear that stuff. So that's absolutely fantastic, and thanks for listening, guys. I'm glad you enjoy the podcast, and I enjoy producing it. And, thank you very much. Hey, look, so, guys, if you do want to check out the show notes, or get the quotes up there on the website, we'll get some images as well. So if you want to share those on social media, go for it. So they're all going to be up there on TradingNut.com. Just search for Louise in the search box, and you'll find them there. So until next time, I wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that episode with Louise. Now, if you do want to hear more from her, head over to her trading podcast. Check it out. It's just more education for free that you can get as well. And talking about free education, actually, I've got up on the YouTube channel, the TradingNut YouTube channel, and we'll get a link in the show notes. I've got a full, I think it goes for over an hour, mentoring session with our student, our aspiring trader, Aaron Oeting. We've got the full mentoring session there up. It's incredible. The feedback I've had in the comments is unreal. Like, people are just falling over themselves with this. So, guys, go and check it out on the TradingNut YouTube channel. And remember, if you do want to take part, if you do want to learn how to build trading robots, then hit me up, and I'll get you at an early bird, the early bird access to the new robot building course. Okay, guys. All right. See you next week.